It has been an extraordinary 2017 so far, even before we enter the Christmas rush. From blockbuster horrors, open-world behemoths and a host of indie darlings, we have had a job even keeping up with the slew of quality and invention. We have even had spangly new hardware in the form of Nintendo Switch, complete with one of the best video games ever made. Safe to say, it's a good time to be gaming, so without further ado, here are the Telegraph's best video games of 2017 so far, with more to surely be added in the coming months. Gravity Rush 2 platform PS4 developer Sony Japan. What is it? Surprising but welcome PS4 sequel to the excellent Vita adventure that has you battling evil in a fascinating fantasyland with the ability to flip the world upside down. Why we love it. Gravity Rush 2 builds on its predecessor's smart, gravity-flipping mechanics, with a creative streak that runs across its two heroines, Cat and Raven. These two are the heart of a heartfelt and engaging tale, while the floating city of Heskoval remains a fascinating place to explore. Gravity Rush 2. Where to buy? Resident Evil 7 Biohazard platforms 4, Xbox One, PC developer Capcom. What is it? Terrifying first-person return to Resident Evil's roots as you explore a decrepit Louisiana mansion while being stalked by the estate's demented Baker family. Why we love it. This deliciously grimy and depressive game is evidence of a lesson learned. Resident Evil 7 looks into the series' history to find its B-movie Blackheart, but scalps from video game terrors that have followed in its wake. Vastly more intimate and earthy than the globe-trotting gunfest that Resident Evil had become, it is a success, providing a rich, atmospheric and reverent chiller that is just silly enough to make sure we are all having fun. Full review. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Where to buy? Platforms 4, developer Sega. What is it? Brilliant 80s-themed RPG prequel to the long-running tale of Kazuma Kiryu, an honorable yakuza making his way in the neon lights of fictional Tokyo district of Kamurocho. Why we love it. The perfect game for Japanophiles and those who like whacking goons with bicycles. Yakuza has always shown a fascinating light onto the underbelly of Tokyo's nightlife, weaving a compelling crime yarn with offbeat wackiness and extravagance. Yakuza 0 is arguably the series' best, with a thumping combat system, a lot of laughs and a surprisingly grown-up tale of land grabs and interfamily wrangling. Kazuma remains one of gaming's most cool and compelling characters, while the chance to control one of Yakuza's longtime stars in Goro Majima is a treat. Platform Zio's Android developer Onion Games. What is it? Bonkers but brilliant mobile game that casts you as Brave Yamada, a budding games developer and failed Lothario attempting to impress his beautiful neighbor with his coding skills. You progress by testing his roguelite puzzle game, a challenging dungeon crawler in which you must draw a path for our hero to the exit, avoiding traps and fighting beasts on the way. Why we love it. We think the above says it all. This is a bizarre but wonderfully heartfelt game, with the smart puzzle game expanding far beyond what you would expect of it. But just as engaging is the touching, funny Yamada and the people that come in and out of his life. It's a free-to-play game well worth a punt. Dandy Dungeon. Where to buy? She Remembered Caterpillar's platform PC developer Jumpsuit Entertainment. What is it? Self-described by developer as Fungapunk, She Remembered Caterpillars is a quirky, touching puzzle game that has you building bridges and making paths with the titular insects. Why we love it. The logic puzzles in She Remembered Caterpillars are delightfully devilish and compelling, with new elements added in a smartly judged feed. Underpinning these smart mechanics is an alluring art style and touching narrative by developer Cassandra Kaw, which unfolds in delicate snippets and deals with bereavement and grief. She Remembered Caterpillars. Where to buy? Platforms 4, Xbox One, PC developer Ubisoft. What is it? Ferocious medieval multiplayer that pits knights, Viking and samurai against each other in bloody combat. Why we love it. For Honor's fighting mechanics are weighty and gratifying, communicating the violence and impact of medieval combat through handsome visuals and animation. It really is terrific. And For Honor wraps a multiplayer structure more familiar to shooters around it. Think Dark Souls and Street Fighter hooking up at a Call of Duty house party. Full review. Platforms PS4, Xbox One developer Rebellion. What is it? The latest in Rebellion's gruesome WW2 shooter moves to Italy, as you prowl open sandboxes and take potshots at Nazi testicles. Why we love it. Sniper Elite 4 is tactile and gratifying when mastering the game's mechanics as they were intended. But how it responds to chaos, that's where it earns its stripes. Rebellion make all of its mechanics click, with the level design throwing up both challenge and freedom. Structurally it could be pitched somewhere between Metal Gear Solid V and Hitman, with you scouting the area and attempting best practice and then adapting when things don't quite go according to plan. It is a game that relies heavily on its mechanics to keep its players entertained. And it does a fine job of it. Sniper Elite 4 Where to Buy Platform 4 Developer Team Ninja. What is it? Samurai-inspired fantasy RPG that has you exploring a vast battlefield, hunting yokai. Why we love it. Hundreds of hours in and we were still getting excited at new aspects and discoveries within the game, finding constantly fresh and rewarding things to do and see. It's a slick, fantastic hack and slash with a strong sense of charm and sincerity, accessible yet tough to master, and if there's any justice, it'll go down as a classic. Read full review. Platform Xbox One, PC developer Creative Assembly. What is it? Surprising sequel to the RTS spin-off of Xbox's famous sci-fi shooter. Why we love it. This is a clever, confident improvement on the solid if unspectacular first Halo Wars, which is not much of a shock given it is made by RTS maestros Creative Assembly. It isn't as intricate as the giants of the genre, but this is entirely deliberate, making for a fizzy, accessible and thoroughly enjoyable strategy game. Wrapped around this is a blockbuster narrative given all the pomp, circumstance and gleaming cutscenes you would expect from a Halo game. Platform 4 developer Guerrilla Games. What is it? Ambitious open-world adventure starring young hunter Aloy making her way in a post-apocalyptic world crawling with robot dinosaurs. Why we love it. On the surface, Horizon seems like a jumble of influences, but, just like the murderous machina wandering its lands, the game is far more than its component parts, delivering a gripping story, satisfying combat, and the most gorgeous video game environments we've ever seen. Horizon confidently carves out an identity of its own in an overpopulated genre. Read full review. Horizon Zero Dawn. Where to Buy Torment. Tides of Numenera. Platforms 4, Xbox One, PC developer Inxile Entertainment. What is its spiritual successor to 1999's Planescape Torment with a familiar isometric perspective and a focus on multiple approaches to its strange and unique fantasy world. Why we love it. Any of the approaches are equally valid, and the game never punishes you for deciding on a specific route to take. Rather, the story unfolds in various rich and interesting ways depending on how you proceed, and sometimes even flat-out failing a task can lead to exciting story beats. An exceptionally rewarding RPG filled with deep systems, a ton of genuine replay value, and delivered with a lot of love and care. Torment. Tides of Numenera. Where to Buy Platform PC developer No Code. What is it? Fascinating 80s-inspired interactive fiction joint that has drawn comparisons with Stranger Things and her story. You play through 4 connected vignettes in front of various different computers and machinery as the story unfolds beneath your fingertips. Why we love it. To say too much would ruin any of the impact, but it's a fabulous exploration of interaction and expectation, toying with the player's perception of both at every opportunity. But it is a fantastic example of interactive visual storytelling. It would absolutely only work in the form that the developers have created, and is a creepy story deftly told. Read full review. Stories Untold. Where to Buy The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Platform Switch, Wii U developer Nintendo. What is its spectacular open-world reinvention of one of gaming's most loved series, following the legendary hero Link as he travels across a gorgeous fantasy land battling a malevolent evil. Why we love it. It is dense yet lean, its map bursting with distraction, but without an inch of it wasted. It is classical yet modern, drawing on the heritage of its own illustrious series while openly embracing more recent gaming trends. It is challenging yet welcoming, giving you the choice to ease yourself in or take on some of the game's most fearsome creatures. And it features the kind of mechanical creativity that makes you laugh out loud at the sheer audacity of it. These are just some of the reasons why Breath of the Wild is one of the very finest video games ever made. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Where to Buy Platforms 4, PC developer Platinum Games. What is it? Long-awaited action RPG sequel to the imperfect yet unforgettable Nier, this time developed by action superstars Platinum Games in conjunction with Nier creative director Yoko Taro. Why we love it. A superb action game with fast, frenetic combat that showcases Platinum at their best. Whether you're fighting giant robots or exploring a devastated world, Nier Automata brings thrills and melancholy in equal measure. The combat systems are a vast improvement over its predecessor, but Automata retains the level of introspective weirdness and genre-bending experimentation that made the first game so notable. There's so much to discover, so many twists and turns, and it's all packaged together with Platinum's trademark prowess. Whether you're a fan of Drakengard and Nier or new to the series, Automata is a must-play. Read full review. Nier Automata. Where to Buy Platforms 4 developer Atlas. What is it? The latest in the cult hit JRPG that follows you through a year at Tokyo's Shujin High School, where the students moonlight as masked vigilantes locked in battle with supernatural forces. Why we love it. Persona 5 is a wonderfully crafted game, expertly juggling superb combat mechanics with the series' penchant for the fascinating and often terrifying social whims of teenage school days. Dark, compelling and gorgeous. Persona 5 Breath of the Wild. Where to buy. Platform PC developer Big Robot. What is it? Gorgeous sci-fi adventure that has you exploring a hostile world remotely through the eyes of a stumping robot. Why we love it. Tolva is a game that puts its faith in the details. Its world is gloriously crafted, from its colorful untouched plains, to strange alien architecture and the haunting wreckage of those that have been there before. Its terrific, slow-burn storytelling is bolstered by bursts of satisfying combat, with its factions of violent robotic enemies prowling the surface. The signal from Tolva. Where to buy. Platforms PS4, Xbox One, PC developer Cavalier Game Studios. What is a time-bending murder mystery that has you prowling the halls of a Baroque casino mansion in an attempt to reverse a series of grisly slayings? Why we love it. The Sexy Brutale is a creeping, clever and assured game, placing you in a meticulously constructed mansion and weaving its temporal teasers throughout its halls. Each murder is a smart case of observation and action, tracking the victims and their killers, putting a series of events in motion to prevent each death. As you progress, the mansion opens up and the cases get more intricate. Above all, the Sexy Brutale leverages its time-bending mechanics to weave a compelling narrative. Combine this with stunning Art Deco architecture and endearing chibi characters and you have one of the year's most effective surprises. The Sexy Brutale. Where to buy. Platforms PC developer Thomas Brush. What is it? A creepy, macabre puzzle platformer about a former priest who is struggling to save his daughter from the clutches of the evil Mr. Pinstripe. Why we love it. Pinstripe is a short, sweet, excellently crafted platformer. It has a bunch of fantastic puzzles, a neat approach to exploration and progression, and a severely eerie atmosphere. The art and sound design is gorgeous, and the denouement will leave you thinking about it for days afterwards. Almost everything in the game was made by one man, but Pinstripe comfortably sits alongside games created by much larger teams. With a brilliant cast of characters, precise and tactile controls and a wicked sense of humor, Pinstripe is one of our low-key favorites of 2017. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Platform Switch developer Nintendo. What is it? Chunky Switch re-release of the fantastic Wii U racer that comes with all of the DLC tracks and characters, plus a fuller battle mode. Why we love it. Mario Kart 8, with its zippy racing, fabulous tracks and stomach-flipping anti-gravity, is as deliriously entertaining as it has ever been. And with battle mode restored, the bumper pack of tracks and the neat nips and tucks, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the fullest and most finely tuned entry the series has seen. Crucially for Nintendo and the Switch, it is a splendid celebration of its host console's charms. We've played at home with our families, tried to shave seconds off time trials on trains and roped colleagues into multiplayer by snapping off a controller and handing it over. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Where to buy. What remains of Edith Finch. Platforms 4, PC developer Giant Sparrow Games. What is it? Harrowing and surreal series of interactive vignettes as young Edith explores her looming childhood home to uncover the truth of a family curse. Why we love it. Giant Sparrow demonstrate extraordinary skill in storytelling throughout Edith's journey, harnessing game's interactivity with diverse tales of death and superstition within the Finch household. From the purely surreal sharks tumbling down hills in the fevered imagination of a child to hyperactive comic books, to more grounded and gut-wrenching tragedy, Edith Finch flits between each with real poise. And as it does, it threads together a compelling and often disturbing picture of a most unusual family. Full review. Prey. Platforms PS4, Xbox One, PC developer Arcane Studios. What is it? Atmospheric first-person sci-fi adventure spiritual successor to System Shock, in which you play Morgan Yu, a scientist stranded on a space station overrun with chameleonic lifeforms known as mimics. Why we love it. Prey makes you feel clever, excites, intrigues and, at least once, can be absolutely terrifying. Talos 1 is an incredible sandbox, ever-shifting as the story progresses. You map the place with your mind throughout, finding new routes through the sprawling space obelisk. Still, no matter how familiar you get with the place, you never feel safe, not even when you're floating through zero gravity in the endless black. Platforms PS4, Xbox One, PC developer NetherRealm Studios. What is it? Superb fighting sequel to the DC-themed Gods Among Us, in which Batman, Superman and pals beat the snot out of each other. Why we love it. Injustice 2's story of Brainiac invading Earth while Batman and Superman have a Barney is way better than it has any right to be. It is all very silly, as you might imagine, but pulled off with a real sense of style. The plot breezes along as everyone smacks each other around a bit, with splendid visuals and a voice cast clearly having a lot of fun. Though all the looks and fancy story would be worth nothing if the game underpinning it wasn't any good. And Injustice 2 is an excellent fighting game. It is by far the most technically adept game NetherRealm has developed and the most accessible, content-complete brawler on console. Full review platforms: PS4, Xbox One, PC. Developer Deck 13 Interactive. What is it? A sci-fi twist on the Dark Souls formula as you play Warren, a new employee at the Factory of the Future, fighting his way through zombie-like workers, angry security guards, and a selection of murderous robots. Why we love it? It's a cracking action-adventure, with extremely satisfying combat, sprawling and complex facilities to explore, and a fantastic upgrade system. It also possesses a surprisingly deep, interesting narrative that tackles transhumanism, disability and the nature of existence in a somewhat more nuanced way than the usual sci-fi fare. Full review platforms: for Xbox One, PC. Developer SMAC Games. What is it? Self-described by the developer as GTA meets Syndicate. Tokyo 42 is a terrific isometric action game in which you are an assassin in a far future vision of Tokyo where a new medication means people can live forever. Why we love it? Tokyo 42 is a little marvel, a challenging adventure that mixes slick hyperviolence, stealth and exploration into its gorgeous diorama. ARMS platform: Switch. Developer Nintendo. What is it? Nintendo's spin on the fighting game, featuring a colorful cast of characters that box with extendable limbs and an expansive arsenal of attachments. Missile-equipped boxing gloves. Anyone. Why we love it? ARMS is perhaps both the most and least Nintendo-like game the company has ever made. A third-person fighter isn't the first thing you would think of as a Nintendo game, but the eccentricity and goofy fun of the concept are absolutely its mo. It's glorious fun, and with its mixtures of modes, option for motion controls and more serious online competition, has enough going on to satisfy casual Nintendo players and more dedicated fight fans. Platform: Switch. Developer Nintendo. What is it? Nintendo's spin on the third-person shooter featuring a colorful, wait, we've been here before. The usual Nintendo invention on show is here as it swaps violence and deathmatch for swathing the walls and opponents in paint as a kid that can turn into a squid. You know, the usual. Why we love it? Splatoon is a kinetic, deliriously enjoyable sugar rush. A thoroughly decent single-player adventure backs up the main business of moreish online multiplayer. Full review platforms: for PC. Developer Supergiant Games. What is it? A potent mix of fantasy RPG and tactical sports game as teams attempt to destroy the opposition's tower with a single glowing orb. Why we love it? Pyre's gorgeous art style and thoughtful narrative is par for the course for Supergiant, developers of Gems, Bastion and Transistor. The sport-themed combat, meanwhile, is a delicious twist on the usual RPG fare. Lawbreakers platforms: for PC. Developer Boss Key Productions. What is it? A high-octane, multiplayer-only, gravity-defying multiplayer shooter from Gears of War CREAOTR Cliff Bleszinski's new studio. Why we love it? While this hero shooter has echoes of Overwatch with its variety of different classes to choose from, Lawbreakers sets itself apart with its focus on movement. The pace is fierce and frenetic, as players soar over maps battling over objectives. While there is plenty of recognizable shooter design here, Lawbreakers does enough, lawbreaking to give itself a fresh identity. Platforms: for Xbox One, PC. Developer Bloober Games. What is it? Harrowing cyberpunk horror starring Rutger Hauer. Why we love it? From the developers of Layers of Fear, Observer has you exploring a dilapidated apartment block after a mysterious message from your estranged son. The setting is grubby and affecting, while the rich dialogue and detail paints quite a picture. Harrowing, too, is the ability to hack into people's minds to uncover their memory. And if nothing else, the Grizzled Tower returning to Cyberpunk is a treat. Sonic Mania platforms: for Xbox One, PC, Switch. Developer Sega. Christian Whitehead. What is it? A greatest hits package of classic Sonic platforming bolstered by new levels and bosses. Why we love it? Because it's proper Sonic. Mania rekindles the love for the much-maligned hedgehog, but understanding that momentum is his greatest strength. Levels are tricky and complex, switching deliciously between volatile marble runs and more precise platforming. The bosses aren't great and a wonky save system irritates, but at its heart this is the best Sonic game in decades. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy platform: for developer Naughty Dog. What is it? Terrific standalone spin-off from Uncharted 4, starring Chloe Fraser and Nadine Ross as they hunt down the Tusk of Donation India. Why we love it? While The Lost Legacy is unadulterated Uncharted high-octane set pieces, panicked shooting and climbing gorgeous outcrops, its two new leads give it a fresh twist. As the game progresses, so too does Chloe and Nadine's relationship, backed by a splendid script and performances from its two leads. By the end, as a spectacular finale starts to look like an Uncharted greatest hits, the pair give this famous series a fresh voice. Full review: Uncharted The Lost Legacy. Where to buy? Platforms. 4. PC developer Slow Clap. What is it? Ambitious twist on the fighting game, blending it with role-playing elements in a connected world. Why we love it. Absolver's complex fighting decks blend terrifically with the world you roam, taking on both enemies and fellow players. You can also seamlessly team up as you explore, kicking 7 bells out of the other warriors out to test your mettle. Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle format. Nintendo Switch developer Ubisoft. What is it? Deliciously silly strategy crossover between Nintendo's Famous Plumber and Ubisoft's Manic Rabbids. Why we love it. This could be the biggest surprise of 2017, a turn-based strategy mashing together two disparate universes to create something far better than it has any right to be. The XCOM-flavored action is fun and accessible, but smart and challenging too. While the unlikely meeting of Mario and the Rabbids brings around a lot more laughs than you would expect. An unexpected triumph. Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Where to buy? Format: Xbox One, PS4, PC developer Bungie. What is it? Sequel to Bungie's previous space shooting MMO extravaganza. Why we love it. Destiny 2 is vastly more accomplished than its fascinating forebear. Its campaign, as you tackle the Red Legion across a multitude of planets, is stronger and more defined, its distractions more engaging and worthwhile. It is a game that has learnt from everything the previous game both excelled and failed at and pulls it together into a more comprehensive package. And the spacefaring combat is as delicious as ever. Best part is, it's only likely to get better. Full review. Our best prices. Destiny 2 format. PC developer Larian Studios. What is it? Sequel to the cult fantasy RPG in which you play a persecuted sorcerer on a quest to defeat an evil bishop. Why we love it. This style of classic role-playing is something of a dying breed, but Divinity 2 breathes new life with its rich vein of choice, charisma and storytelling. Everything from combat to crafting to the world is perfectly judged and thoroughly compelling. You can also take to your quest and coop with up to 4 players, each sorcerer with their own race and stats. SteamWorld Dig 2 format. Switch, PC, PS4, Vita developer Image Form. What is a delightful action-adventure that revolves around mining as you explore a hostile world as steam-driven robot Dorothy. Why we love it. Any of our older readers remember Boulder Dash? Imagine a modern, steampunk cowboy robot version of that, and you are on the right track. SteamWorld Dig 2 is a Metroidvania-style adventure, as Dorothy pickaxes her way through an underground world, fighting beasties by dropping rocks onto their heads and discovering new items to forge her way. A definable improvement on the already excellent original. Project Cars 2 formats. 4. Xbox One, PC developer Slightly Mad Studios. What is it? The second lap of Slightly Mad's wonderfully deep driving simulation. Why we love it. While PC gamers have plenty of choice, this is the most serious console racing game for the proper patrol heads out there. Project Cars 2 has a boggling array of cars and events to get stuck into, 182 vehicles, 46 tracks with 121 different layouts. Scale and numbers are one thing, but there is a clear love for all things motorsport here. It might not compete with the budgets of competitors Forza and Gran Turismo, but for an authentic experience and absurdly deep career mode, Project Cars 2 is every bit their equal. Project Cars 2. Where to buy? Dishonored Death of the Outsider formats. 4. Xbox One, PC developer Arcane Studios. What is it? Sneaky spin-off of Arcane's brilliant steampunk adventure starring the enigmatic Billy Lurk. Why we love it. At the risk of spoiling Dishonored 2, which you really must play, we can't go into too much detail over Death of the Outsider's tale. Suffice to say it takes place after the events of that game, with a new protagonist and powers for them to wield. It has all the hallmarks of Arcane's now trademark brilliance, absurdly detailed environments, flexible interlocking stealth and combat mechanics, and a gritty world worth losing yourself in. Dishonored Death of the Outsider. Where to buy? Format: PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PC developer PES Productions. What is it? Konami's latest entry into its cult football series. Why we love it. For all its continued travails in presentation and structure, Pro Evolution Soccer remains the king on the pitch. Each match, in its finely tuned engine, has its own narrative. Its tactics are rich and varied, while teams feel like individual entities with their own style. Also does a lovely line in chaotic goalmouth scrambles. Full review. Our best prices. PES 2018 format. PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch. PC developer EA Canada. What is it? EA Sports' latest entry into its absurdly popular football series. Why we love it. FIFA 18 is the best the series has been on the pitch in many a year. Its action is fizzy, satisfying and much more responsive. Off the pitch, it continues to excel with a smorgasbord of footballing treats. The sequel to The Journey, the surprisingly good story mode introduced last year, is much better balanced and still a lot of soap opera fun. Career mode's improved and Ultimate Team is even more compulsive. Format PC, Xbox One developer Studio under what is a tight, challenging run-and-gun platformer that centers around screen-filling boss fights and frantic shooting action. Why, we love it. For one, it looks like a living cartoon, with the classic animation style of the 1930s captured wonderfully in everything from visuals to soundtrack. For another, it's an exceptionally fun challenge, focusing on excellent boss battles. The one more go compulsion is real as, while the game can be tough, it's rarely punishing, with short multi-layered fights that do a good job of teaching you how to improve. Throw in local coop and some great platforming challenges and Cuphead is as exquisite as dining on your fine china. Full review formats: Xbox One, PC developer Turn 10. What is it? The newest track-based racer sim in Microsoft's successful racing series. Why we love it. This is Forza Motorsport at its best, providing an extraordinary showcase of audio, visual and tactile feedback. The cars roar through absurdly pretty and detailed environments and you feel every bump and dip in the road. The career mode is much more varied and better paced, giving you plenty of opportunity to get behind the wheels of your dream cars. And maybe throw a limousine round the Top Gear track, side-swiping bowling pins. Forza Motorsport 7. Where to buy?